Hello. So, for my critical self-reflection, I researched Lululemon, a Canadian athletic apparel company that publishes annual sustainability reports. I chose this company because that clothing industry has a large environmental footprint, and I was curious to see where most of its carbon emissions actually come from and what the company is doing to reduce them. So Lululemon reports its greenhouse gas emissions every year and has set goals to reduce them. One thing I found interesting is that because it has a global supply chain, its environmental impact goes far beyond its stores. The company depends on suppliers, manufacturers, and transportation networks around the world, so I thought it would be a good example to understand carbon reporting. So does Lululemon report all three scopes? Yes, it does. Lululemon reports all three greenhouse gas emission scopes. Scope 1 includes direct emissions from its own operations. Scope 2 includes emissions from purchased electricity. And Scope 3 includes emissions across its entire value chain. What surprised me the most is that Scope 3 is by far the company's largest source of emissions, which means that most of its climate impact happens outside its own buildings. Under Scope 3, Lululemon reports categories such as purchased goods and services, upstream transportation, business travel, employee commuting, and waste generated in operations for in operations. For an apparel company, purchased goods and services are especially important because producing fabrics, manufacturing clothing, and making packaging create a significant amount of emissions. Transportation is also very relevant because products are shipped internationally before reaching stores and customers. I also found two downstream categories that are particularly important: the use of sold products at the end of life, treatment of sold products. These are highly relevant because athletic clothing is washed frequently throughout its lifetime, and many products are made from synthetic materials that may end up in the landfill, and they aren't if they aren't recycled. So before reading Lululemon's sustainability report, I assumed that most of the clothing company's emissions came from its operating stores. However, after I reflected throughout this case, I learned that the biggest impact actually comes from the supply chain. This changed how I think about sustainability because it showed me that reducing emissions isn't only about making stores more energy efficient. It's also about working with suppliers, improving manufacturing and transportation, and considering what happens to products after they are sold. Overall, this reflection helped me understand how complex carbon reporting really is. These are my sources for this presentation, and thank you very much.